All right. Well, thanks everyone for your patience and for joining us today. I'm Jennifer Hill. I'm an electronic resources manager. Oh, you guys need to mute the room, the in-person room, please. Your microphone. And distance education librarian at Johns Hopkins University in the Entrepreneurial Library Program. And I'm joined today by the wonderful Courtney McAllister, who's there in person. Today, we'll be sharing several techniques for tracking down, minimizing, and fixing broken links in your libraries. I'm going to start with what my library is doing to seek out broken links, and then Courtney will share troubleshooting strategies for link issues. I previously presented on this topic at ERNL last March, but we've learned a lot this past year, and it's an ongoing project with several updates that you'll see today. So first, a bit about where I'm coming from. I'm a part of the Entrepreneurial Library Program department at Johns Hopkins, and in that department, we provide customized library services for a partner institution, Excelsior College. So this is an online nonprofit college, and we've been managing Excelsior's fully online library for over 20 years. So the techniques and content I'm showing today are related to Excelsior College, not Johns Hopkins. Excelsior's mission is to serve underrepresented, non-traditional learners. Many are adults who are already working full-time and juggling a life with families, kids, and more. Some have not been to school in many years, let alone a fully online school. So skill levels and familiarity with technology are varied. Broken links can be a huge roadblock to busy students with varying levels of technology literacy. And so we're working to improve their research and college experience by tackling this problem from multiple angles to hopefully catch as many broken links as possible. So first, some background on our setup. We use EBSCO's Discovery Service, EDS, and Xlibris's 360 product for our link resolver and A to Z list. We don't have a traditional library catalog or ILS because we have no print or physical holdings. Everything we have is online. So we use our A to Z list as our catalog. Our library assistant uploads all our holdings from our 360 knowledge base each week to EBSCO's FTP site in order to keep our EDS holdings up to date. So this is a typical screenshot of our EDS search results. So you can see the three options our users may encounter. The first result has native full text, so there would be no issues there with broken links. They should just click the PDF or the HTML and it should open. The second result has our link resolver, and we turned on one-click access. So when they click this link, it should take users directly to the article. The last one is an EBSCO created custom link. This is a feature in EDS where EBSCO can link directly to the other providers that they partner with, like Elsevier. So this link should go directly to the article in Science Direct. So theoretically, all of these links should go directly to the item, right? We all know that sometimes that does not happen. This can be due to metadata mismatches, missing content from a platform, as well as many other issues. So it's impossible to fully prevent broken links from appearing in discovery tools and link resolvers, but we've prioritized finding and fixing these links to minimize disruption for our users with a multifaceted approach. So how are we finding these problematic links and what are we doing about it? First, we've established a regular practice of proactively searching for broken links in our discovery tool using real reference query search terms. We've also created point of need embedded reporting forms where users can submit broken links to us and quickly receive a librarian response with the correct link while we work on a fix. We've developed an instructional tip sheet that helps users differentiate between a broken link and a link that might require a few more clicks, such as how to browse a journal homepage to find the article. And we've also created reference templates so we can reply to broken link reports effectively. And finally, we're analyzing all the broken link reports received to uncover trends and make improvements. All right, so the first way that we're combating broken links is by proactively checking them in EDS. This was something we did first back when we launched EDS in 2013 to assess it. Then we didn't do it for many years until last year when we started to get an increased number of complaints about broken links. So about once a month, our library assistant tries to find broken links in EDS. She's instructed to first go into our reference email box, check the sent mail, and then find an authentic search strategy that we sent a user. Then she replicates the search in our discovery tool and sees how many links are broken out of the first page 20 results. She does not need to click on any native PDFs or HTML full texts, only external links, meaning records that link out to non-EBSCO sources, such as from our link resolver and those custom external links created by EBSCO that I showed on the previous slide. Currently, we're averaging about 1 broken link per test. And it looks like actually she's been checking the first 2 pages of results 40 links instead of 20. She then fills out this spreadsheet, which you can see here, so we can track trends or any larger issues. And if there's a broken link, she reports it to me so I can investigate and fix it. So for example, the last link on here was not broken, but it led to the journal homepage in Sage instead of directly to the article. We had article level linking for Sage in the past, so this gave me a heads up that something was not working properly. I then tested a few other Sage records in EDS and they all went to the journal level, not the article. So this was definitely a larger issue to report that was uncovered by this monthly testing that I might not have heard about otherwise. We're also using this process to seek out any other potential issues or roadblocks using the column note anything strange, which is thankfully blank for these last 2 tests. But this is where we would put things like if there was a bunch of duplicate results, or if there was a ton of results on the first page not in English, or anything else that maybe stood out as wacky or odd. This regular process helps us proactively seek out and repair broken links, hopefully before our users find them, and it only takes our library assistant about 15 to 30 minutes once a month to complete. Next, we've embedded broken link reporting forms in both our discovery tool and link resolver. We worked with both EBSCO and Ex Libris to build the custom forms. They both pull in the citation information automatically for the link, which minimizes any potential user input errors, and it sends it to us via email in our reference inbox. We've had the form in the link resolver at the bottom, this is the bottom screenshot, for several years, but we just added it to EDS, that's the top screenshot, in December 2020. So it's been almost a year. We decided to add it in EDS on the results list and the detailed record, but for external links only. So you'll see it's on the first result in this top screenshot because that's an external link with our link resolver, but it's not on the second result because that has a native PDF and HTML full text option, so it's not needed there. You'll also notice that the wording is slightly different in both places. We actually started with this floating wording over here that says need to report a broken link with the tools icon. And that was the original wording that we had in both spots. However, at the beginning of January, when the semester started, and we had just launched the form in EDS, we were getting a ton of broken link reports submitted, and the links weren't even broken at all. We were confused as to why they were getting reported and what was happening. It seemed like the students were not seeing the full text link and only seeing report a broken link. After a few phone calls, we were able to gather some anecdotal feedback, and we quickly changed the name of the link from need to report a broken link to need help finding this. And we also replaced the tools icon with a question mark icon, hoping that their eye was not immediately drawn there. In talking to students on the phone, they were telling us that in looking at the results list, it looked like everything was broken. They assumed because it said, need to report a broken link, need to report a broken link, need to report a broken link, that everything was broken. And they didn't even click on the link resolver to try to access articles. They said, why is everything in the library broken? Sigh. So through consistent monitoring, it was evident that different wording was needed immediately. And with this new wording, reports of non-broken links have gone away mostly. So the name change seems to have been a success. We did decide to keep somewhat of the old wording on the link resolver. That's the bottom screenshot. We kept that there for now because we feel like that page is a little different. It's a not found page where there's no other option other than to report the broken link. So we felt it made sense, but perhaps this is something to reevaluate in the future to keep the wording consistent. So users can submit broken links to us through these forms and quickly receive a librarian response with the correct link while we investigate, report, and work on a fix. Since the addition in EDS about a year ago, we've seen a big increase in broken link reports received. And oftentimes the links are broken, but other times users were taken to a database interface that they're unfamiliar with and just assumed it was broken. One student said, I was taken to something called ProQuest from another library. This led to our next solution, the instructional tip sheet at point of need. So after users click on this need help finding this link, they see this form on the left here. And before submitting the broken link, there's a little disclaimer at the top alerting them that the link might not be broken after all. It says, wait, this link may not be broken. In many cases, it just takes a few extra clicks to get to. We created a tip sheet linked where it says learn how to find it with screenshots for how to browse journal homepages for articles and other quirks that may come up, such as being taken to another database interface that maybe they were not expecting, and what to look for once there. So that's the image on the right. This is an example from the tip sheet where they're taken to Sage, and it shows them how to look for a PDF icon in order to get the article. If they don't find what they need using the tip sheet, if they even click on it, I'm hopeful that they are, they can then submit the broken link form. You can see it's pre-populated based on the metadata from the item record, so they don't need to manually enter anything except for their email address. That's the only required field, and that's so that we can reply back to them with the correct link. The submitted form comes into our reference inbox looking like this. I blurred out the student's contact information, but you can see that it automatically sends the information about the item. So what do we do when we get these reports? The library assistant handles most of these. I've created a process for her where she first recreates the steps the student took to get to the article to determine what the issue is. First, she looks for this item in EDS, either by title, DOI, or source ID. We want her to find the exact place that the student was at when they clicked on the broken link reporting form. Once she finds the correct record in EDS, she clicks on the external link to see what happens. And the main question that she asks herself is, was it really broken or not? Then we've created several reference email templates for us to use when replying to students based on different scenarios. We do this to be consistent in our responses and also to save us time. So the next step would be for her to find the appropriate template to send the user. And I renamed the template files to be clearer on when to use each one. So the first question again is, was the item broken or not? For example, if it's broken, she might use link broken, we don't have article, link broken, we have article. If it was not broken, it might be link not broken, journal homepage, link not broken, navigating ProQuest. In this example template image on the right, that's link not broken, navigating ProQuest, and we explain that the link's not broken and instruct users of what to click on in the detailed record in order to get the article. We also include direct links to the article since this is what they wanted, but we hope that providing the extra information helps educate and empower them and inform them that sometimes links might take an extra click, and here's how you can do it. The part that's highlighted in yellow is to remind us that the link needs to be updated each time before we send the template. The process has been working pretty well, but I find I have to remind colleagues that link broken or not broken is not the same thing as if we have the article or not. We can have something, but the link could still be broken and need to be fixed. So sometimes they'll use the wrong template, but I spot check them occasionally, and we're working on training for that. All right, so finally, in addition to proactive link checking, embedded reporting forms, and instructional resources, we're tracking all broken link reports that we receive in a spreadsheet so we can look for trends and patterns. So the next step after responding to the student would be to document this on the spreadsheet. We capture the date the link was reported broken, the title of the article, and then we have a classification category of B, NB, or C for broken, not broken, and confusing. We added the category for confusing because we wanted to differentiate between things that were actually broken that would lead to a dead end, perhaps due to a URL change or a metadata mismatch, and things that were not broken, but to a student, they were too confusing. So to them, it didn't work and they wouldn't get the article they were expecting. An example of confusing would be if the link went to a journal homepage where the student is expected to browse for the article themselves. We also track the database the item came from and how the broken link request came in. Anything coded for B as broken goes to me to look into. I also review the C's for confusing to see if we could make access easier for any of these. Once something's reported as B for broken, I go into this spreadsheet and I add information to the columns, if broken, reason, problem, and the additional notes. Tracking these details helps me to see the big picture of what's going on and if there are any trends. So for example, there was an embargo issue with one publisher that led to a lot of broken links. Okay, next would be the reporting piece. So if I'm not here and the broken link, and there are broken links that need to be reported out, I've created this internal troubleshooting guide with examples for my colleagues to follow to determine where the problem is coming from. The guide stresses that they don't need to know how to fix the problem. The goal is to determine who to report the issue to. I give examples for our link resolver, vendor platforms, easy proxy, etc. Courtney will be discussing many tricks and techniques for determining where the issue lies shortly. So finally, lessons learned and next steps. I think the biggest takeaway from this is to continue to monitor user feedback and make changes as needed. Really be open to changing things on the fly to meet unique user needs. So I already talked about how we changed the link name from report a broken link or need to report a broken link to need help finding this. That was like pretty instantaneously within a few weeks of launching. I didn't talk about how we turned on one-click access in our link resolver mid-year. We did this because too many users seemed to be confused by the intermediary page and assumed it meant broken. So what I mean by this is they used to click on the link resolver link in EDS, and then they would get taken to the page here where it says get article online from Sage Journals 2021. They would get to this page, and instead of clicking on get article online, they would just report a broken link. So after we got a lot of those broken links and realized that was going on, we eliminated this step. And now the link resolver in EDS goes right to the article or to a broken link, but it skips over the intermediary page that was confusing them and eliminates a click. This cut down on a lot of non-broken link reports that we were getting as well. And just recently, we just added these open access buttons to our link resolver just a few days ago to the not found page. This was based on the analysis of the broken link report spreadsheet that I showed because we saw many broken links to open access articles. And that was unfortunate because users would get the not found page in our link resolver and their only option was to report the broken link. But I was able to find a lot of the articles freely available online. So I just learned about these buttons to add to this page, which hopefully gives users another pathway to get the article immediately and may cut down on even more broken links that are reported. I'm still in the process of customizing the look and feel of that page with my colleagues. And I did submit feedback that it would be nice to have only one button show in cases where both return a match, because I worry that the two buttons might confuse users. But we also don't want to miss anything by turning on only one since they're coming from two different knowledge bases. All in all, these processes have uncovered many opportunities for us to improve our users' experience. If there's something at your institution that you're doing to find problem areas or broken links that I did not mention, please share them in the chat. So now Courtney's going to share some awesome tools and tricks for deciphering broken links. What do you do when you find them? And we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end.
So how do you look for trouble and still make it something that's scalable, something that won't overtax your library personnel? So one of the techniques we often kind of advocate for is strategic triage. This is not an original concept. This slide is just synthesizing insights from people much smarter than myself. But just for our purposes today, triage is a way to effectively figure out whether something needs additional investigation and where it needs to go. Your goal is not necessarily to resolve the issue, but to figure out the handoff point. So first you'll begin by establishing frequency. Can you reproduce the issue? Can you reproduce it consistently? Is it intermittent and unreproducible? That will dictate the severity, kind of the alarm bells that come with the problem you're trying to resolve. Next, you're going to look at scope. Is this on or off site? Is it affecting mobile and browser-based access? Are just some of your user groups impacted, or is it kind of across the board? If it's just those Emeriti accounts, maybe something expired in your identity provider, lots of oddities can emerge there. Then you'll kind of look at whether this is probably a local issue, vendor issue, or both. Sometimes it's the interaction. Sometimes it's something you may be hosting locally where you'll need to start there perhaps. That all leads to who's going to resolve the issue, who you're going to hand it off to next, whether that may be your campus IT department, your proxy admin, or vendor or publisher to help resolve it further. So breaking down, this analysis into a couple of stages can help make the process more manageable and efficient, but it's still time consuming. It still takes a lot of effort, and we definitely don't want to trivialize that time and that labor. So my goal today is to just talk about some tools and techniques that can hopefully make it a little easier, whether you're using reports or not, or doing proactive checking or not. Hopefully these will be beneficial. I do want to clarify that I do work for EBSCO, but I'm not talking about any EBSCO products today. These are all open web tools things that I have found really helpful doing e-resource troubleshooting as a librarian, as an ILL specialist, and things of that nature. Also going to cover a couple of things that are my favorites, but if you have your own tools that you found really helpful, please feel free to pop those into the chat. We would love to kind of continue the info share as we all try to work together to make the endless journey of e-resource troubleshooting more effective. One last note on this slide is that I've added all of the URLs to the tools we'll be talking about to our takeaway document. The Bitified link is there on the slide. It will be on our closing slide, and it's also visible in Pathable. So please don't feel any pressure to copy down URLs that you see during the next few slides. Those will be available in our takeaway Google folder. So I want to talk about a couple of categories of tools that can help with e-resource troubleshooting and triage. Browser tools, there's a lot of really great information you can get out of your browser. URL decode and encode, which I wish I would have found out about 6 or 7 years ago. Screen capture for documentation purposes, especially if it's something that is urgent and recurring that you're going to have to hand off quickly. That can be a really valuable tool to use. And then emulators, which can help you evaluate things that are happening only on certain devices, maybe only happening for mobile users, but maybe you don't have all of those versions or all of those devices at your personal disposal. So first, URL decode and encode. My favorite tool is listed on the screen. Again, if you have one that you love, please pop it into the chat. Love to know more about what other folks are using. This I feel is mostly helpful when you're troubleshooting link resolver resolution. Something's not reaching its target. Many times that URL that you see has a lot of encoded parameters, but there's incredibly valuable information in that string. You can see improperly formatted syntax. Maybe instead of ISBN, it says ISVN. You're like, oh, we need to change our settings. Or maybe you can see that the publication date that's being passed, it doesn't match what's in the record. That helps alert you to a metadata mismatch. So there's a lot you can do with link resolver troubleshooting with decode and encode. Also very good to use if you're testing something with your proxy. Many proxies require that the target URL be encoded. So if you're prepending your proxy prefix and then want to encode a target URL to make sure it's proxied correctly, especially before sending that email to all the faculty, as I have done before when something wasn't properly proxied, that's a good way to test it out. So just a quick visual aid here. The image in the upper left corner is an encoded URL. It's got good information, but it's kind of hard to just glance at that and see what may be going on, the information that's being passed to your target platform. When you decode it, you start to see things more clearly. I can see the search term was art therapy. I can see the date range more clearly. If I had to recreate this search, I know what parameters were applied. I can see that they limited by open access content. So that gives me a lot of information that is not as easy to see just with the encoded URL. Also very helpful if someone emails you a link. Many email providers will scramble URLs and encode them. And so you copy it, it looks normal in your browser, then you paste it in the browser bar to travel to it. And it looks entirely different. Using decode to get to the root URL can be helpful there. Screen capture, as you're documenting issues, especially systemic recurring issues, screen capture can be a really great time saver and communication tool. Also, if you have the ability to record any steps you're going through, that can be helpful, especially if something is happening post authentication and you're not in a position where you can share access credentials. A short video can definitely help clarify what's going on. Some other data to kind of track while you do your documentation would be which browsers you're using, which version, if that's applicable, whether you're on-site, off-site, exact wording of any error messages. And if you have URLs in your screenshot, please copy and paste them into either the help ticket or wherever you're keeping that information, because often that is essential in figuring out the next steps. This is just a quick example of a mockup you can do with the screen reader. You can indicate, where you were when you clicked on the link that got you here. I can clarify I was not prompted to log in. This is a short URL, so I might not need to copy this one. But this would be a screenshot I could send to my collections person and say, is this an active entitlement? Or I could send it to my proxy admin and say, should I have been prompted to log in before seeing this page? So it helps you get a lot of information across quickly. I was planning to do a live demo of browser tools, but we are running very short on time. So I will add screenshots. I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to add screenshots of some of these techniques in the browser, and I'll add those to our takeaway documents. So apologies for skipping over the live demo, but I would like to say there's a lot of powerful information in a browser, regardless of whether you're using Chrome or whatever your browser of choice is. Often if you right click and hit inspect, you can see errors in your console. If you go to the network tab, you can often see all of the different sites that are being pulling information in to populate the data on the page. And then you can also alter the proportions of the page, and under the dimensions, you can click specific devices. So if I'm working with a patron that's using an iPad Pro, I may not have that, but I want to see what they're seeing. I can alter the dimensions within the browser and replicate that experience. Especially helpful if they're saying they don't see a link. Sometimes the responsive design means it appears a little differently than someone may have expected. So again, we really hope that between Jen's very compelling case study and some of the tools that we've shared today, folks feel comfortable looking for trouble, dealing with e-resource access issues and reports from users. It can be intimidating. I've definitely worked in institutions where we wanted to know, but we're also a little bit like, what are we going to find out? But there's a lot of really good things that can come from that analysis and assessment. As we mentioned before, our takeaway document is linked and also available in the Pathful platform. Included there will be those screenshots I mentioned about the browser console and the links to the tools we talked about today. Also added a real-time HTML editor tool, which probably more dev-oriented, but really helpful, and a JSON prettifier. If you're using API calls, please bookmark a JSON prettifier. So with that, I will turn it over to questions if there's any time. I realize we are running a little behind, so we might need to follow up with folks in the chat.
I think we have time for a couple questions.
And I could questions, or do you want me to read things from the chat?
Yeah, if you, whatever you prefer. If you want to read some, that would be great.
Okay, someone asked, is the user not using or getting the permalink the most frequent cause of broken links? Question mark.
No, so these are broken links that when they click on our link resolver, when they're doing a search and they click on the link resolver link, it doesn't go directly to the article. So it could be due to maybe the content was missing from the provider's platform, like maybe the article was never uploaded, maybe there was an incorrect or a mismatch in the metadata, like maybe there was a typo in the title or the author's name or something like that. So these are, it's not due to the permalink, it's just due to them searching and not being able to connect to the article that they were expecting.
Okay, let's see. This is an amazing system. I hope you share your slides.
Yes, the slides will be posted.
Want the slides and the programming behind all the things.
Thank you. Yeah, the slides will be posted later today in the files area. And like Courtney said, there's a takeaways document already there with some of the templates and some of the techniques are in the files area.
Someone asked if you have done an analysis of your interlibrary loan stats to find out how often people request items you already own. That may be an issue with a broken link as well, if you already own it and they couldn't access it.
That's a good question. We actually don't do a lot of interlibrary loan for Excelsior. So since we are all online, usually we're able to find most of these articles either in our subscriptions or free on the web. And if not, our students are, they're not doing that intensive research where they might need that exact article for the most part. So we do a few interlibrary loans, but mostly they're able to find another article on the same topic that suits their needs for their project. And they just move on and don't even do the request.
How do you arrive at your proactive testing strategy / workflow?
Oh, That's a good question. I don't really know. I just started thinking about how can we find these broken links and just make the user experience the best that it could be. I knew they were there and I just wanted to seek them out, and I just kind of made it up. I guess from attending conferences too and getting ideas from other sessions over the years. Someone asked, I saw in the Zoom, about if we had to work with, were all the changes within EBSCO things you could do, or did you need EBSCO assistance? We actually worked closely with Courtney to create the form. So she was our contact at EBSCO who made the form for us. But there are some things I could do myself, like changing the name and things like that in the admin module. So both. Anything else?
Lots of things about technology. Is there any questions from anyone in person?
And some people also typed their recommendations into the chat in Pathable, which are great ideas. Some of them I've never heard of before. So take a peek in there and see some other tools as well.
Yes, someone said they keep a shared account in Outlook and all of their templates live there. So it may be a good place to keep a template for.
Right, and someone said, where do you house the tip sheets? The tip sheet where we show the screenshots of how to browse journals to find the article, that's how we house that in actually in LibGuides in the assets. We uploaded it as a document and then we link it in multiple places throughout the library's website. In terms of the templates for responding to students, we have those housed on just an internal shared drive on our computers. All right. If there's no questions in the room, I think I know we're over time because we got a little bit of a late start, but we can monitor the chat in Pathable and answer additional questions in there after the session.